have enough similarity to believe, as I do, that this model adequately duplicated the forces that were present on the bullet that went through Lieutenant Oliver's body, producing enough similarity, and because it only went 104 feet beyond the blood pool that contained Lieutenant Oliver's body, that Q1 indeed is the bullet that went through the lieutenant. And that bullet, Q1, was, by the FBI testing, shown to come from Mr. Workman's Colt pistol to the exclusion of all other pistols in the world.
Dr. Smith, just one question I did want to ask you about, just if you could explain, since a lot of it was made about the X-ray and accusations the X-ray was hidden and not turned over, could you just explain the circumstances of how this X-ray was found and about how the relationship is with Dr. Bell's dad?
Yes, sir. In 1981, the morgue sustained a fire that required that it be displaced to another area of the building.
When in 1981?
It was in February 1981, so it was disrupted. The morgue operations were disrupted. In order to accommodate the move of the fire, things had to be moved from point A to point B, so there wasn't a set place. At the time that the film for Lieutenant Oliver was made, it could have been put in almost any place of convenience. Now, some years later, the morgue was moved to the current location, I think it was in 1988, moved to the current location on Madison Avenue. And that, again, was a rather disruptive effort since the whole morgue was prepared inside of 3 months. Where it was stored to this date and time, I cannot be precise. I asked for X-rays all the time. I asked for this X-ray about 3 times as I was studying the case, because there was no indication that an X-ray would have been made. Remember, it was not our standard to have an X-ray made in every case, nor is it to this day. But back in 1981, it's also far more inconvenient to obtain one. So that there was no knowledge that one even existed in this case. But after due diligence on part of the Forensic Center staff, they did produce the X-ray and hand it over to me, at which point in time I used it for my purposes, and I mentioned it in the letter that I sent. And at that point in time, it obviously became a point of contention to folks that I didn't even know existed. At the time this X-ray was first asked for, I was back in Southwest Asia on active duty, so that the subpoena had been received and acted upon prior to my return to the United States. But once again, in 1995, when it had been asked for, Dr. Bell had been deceased for some 8 years, so that with his passing went any direct knowledge that the X-ray was even taken.
The Q1 that was recovered did not have a plug in it. Would it be unusual to find a bullet where the plug had fallen out under the circumstances of that parking lot?
No, sir, it wouldn't be unusual at all. Many of the hollow point bullets that haven't expanded, they may have some plug material present, they may not have some plug material present. The plug may have resided in the body, it may have been removed at surgery, or it may have been retained by the bullet at the time it hit the parking lot, but the polyester material or whatever doesn't have much adherence to the bullet, and it can easily fall out.
Thanks. Okay, then, Doctor, in summation, in regards to Q1, do you feel that this bullet is consistent with the wound profile that you have seen in Lonnie Oliver's case?
Yes, sir. As I have testified, is that Dr. Bell, Dr. Sperry, Dr. Weck, and myself don't have any difference in that, is that you have a wound track from a bullet that didn't expand, deform, or fragment. And I believe that Q1 is consistent with that finding.
I think that's all the questions I have.
Okay, I'm concerned about getting a copy of those slides.
Yes, the one thing I wanted to do, I
And
guess...
if it's possible, I'd like to get to the defense also.
I understand.
Yeah.
We've got the
Static.
exemplars here, these 3 posters, which contain most of the photographs that were projected. I've asked Dr.
Okay.
which we will obviously mark as exhibits
Mark
to
those.
Dr. Smith's testimony.
Mark says exhibits